Hi everyone, my name's Nicole, and I want to talk a little bit about my struggle with dyscalculia. I was just diagnosed with dyscalculia a couple of days ago. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, what is dyscalculia? Well, in short, it's a math learning disability. Basically, I can't do simple math. It all stems back from first grade. When I was in first grade, I could not count money. I could not do basic addition, and I always had to get extra help from the teacher. My mom realized something wasn't right, so she had me tested, and the results came back and they said, well, she just struggles with math a little bit. And okay, first grade, yeah, kids can struggle, that's fine. So fast forward, I make it through second and third and fourth and fifth. I get to sixth grade and I still was not understanding math. I couldn't do fractions, I couldn't do decimals, I was still struggling with multiplication and division and addition and subtraction. So my mom said, okay, I need to have her tested again. So once again I was tested, and again they said, she just struggles in math. I spent countless hours sitting at home trying to do my math homework every night, and it would often end in tears because I just couldn't get it. I couldn't understand why I couldn't be like everybody else and just get it. I had tutor after tutor trying to help me. I would spend my summers doing math booklets trying to just understand a little bit of what everyone else could understand. I always felt stupid. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't trying hard enough. I thought maybe if I just keep up the tutoring, if I keep practicing, I'll get it. And I never could. I remember second grade, we would play Around the World, and I hated that game. It gave me such anxiety. I didn't want to do it because I knew that I would never make it anywhere. I had some great teachers who wanted to help me, but they didn't know how. So fast forward to middle school, and I was still struggling, and I just kind of pushed everything with it aside. I struggled my way through. I continued to have tutors, and I continued to stay inside during my lunches, and then I got to high school, and I was barely making it in math. I was doing fantastic in everything else, but not math. I made it to a geometry class, and I couldn't do it. I failed the class, but my teacher knew that I was trying, and she slid me by with a low D because she did not want me to miss out on graduation due to one math class. I am grateful that she did that, but then in a way, I almost wish somebody would have said something's wrong. There's no reason that a 21-year-old should struggle with basic math. I can't do simple addition like 5 plus 9 in my head. I have to use my fingers. I have to use a calculator. I was a cashier for a little while, and anytime I had to count out change, I would literally be shaking. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how. So I kept the calculator on the side, and I used that, and I did the best that I could, and that was really, really hard. I made it to college, and I was going to school to be a teacher, ironically, and I was observing in a second grade classroom. And as they started their math lesson, I was watching, taking notes, and I realized that I was learning. And that scared me. My whole world stopped for a minute. And when I left there, I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, how am I learning in a second grade classroom when I am a sophomore in college? I just didn't understand how. So again, I kind of pushed it off to the side, and I just continued doing what I was doing. I wanted this. It was something I really wanted, and it was something I was striving for. So I ended up taking an exceptionalities class for my education program. And in that class, my professor started talking about disabilities. And she mentioned dyscalculia and what it meant to have dyscalculia. The more she talked about it, the more I was interested in it because I said that sounded like me. So I listened intently, and then I went home and I did my own research. Luckily enough for me, my professor owns her own business where she diagnoses people. So I reached out to her, and I told her I thought that I may struggle from that. When I messaged her and I spoke to her, she agreed that it sounded just like dyscalculia. So she agreed to test me for a lot cheaper than what other places would, which I was very grateful for. And I got my results back the other day, and it came back that I have severe dyscalculia. So everybody keeps asking me, what does that mean? Well, you see, I'm 21 years old. I'm no longer in the public school system. There's no special education classes for me. So basically, I can get accommodations on things like tests. I can have the extra time. I can have the extra tutoring. And I can take my time and do the extra tutoring. But that's really all I can do. I will never be able to do basic math. I will never be able to tell time on an analog clock properly. I can vaguely do it if I'm going 5, 10, 15, 20. But for the most part, I can't. If somebody says quarter past, I just kind of stare at them. I can't do fractions. I can't do decimals. It's a struggle to live an everyday life. My husband is the one that deals with the bank account and the bills because I just can't do it. When we go to a store, I let other people pay, or I prefer to put it on my card. Because if I do it that way, then I don't have to worry about the change. How am I supposed to know if I'm getting the wrong change back? I don't. Other things that come with being dyscalculic can be strange, but it can happen. In that exceptionalities class, I did my end of the semester project on dyscalculia, just so I could learn more about it while getting a grade. So in my research, I learned that a lot of things that I do stem from my dyscalculia. I do not like driving at all. It has to do with the fact that I can't tell distance. I can't tell you how close someone is to me, and I always feel like people are too close. I can't tell you how fast someone is going. So if I'm in the car with somebody, I'll be like, you're going too fast, and they're really not. I tend to try to get people to bring me places because I get extreme anxiety over driving. Oddly enough, crossing the street is part, and being scared is part of being dyscalculic. You can't tell how fast other cars are going or how far away they are, so you fear that they're going to hit you because they're too close and you're going to step in front of them. If there's a car down the street, I will wait until it passes to try to cross the street. And if there's any car near, I will run. And I never noticed like that little tick of mine that I did until I did research, and I was like, oh my, like I do that. And I'm very clumsy, and everybody was like, oh, it's just Nicole. But that actually has a lot to do with it because we don't have perception. So we just kind of fall over a lot, oddly enough. There's just a lot of things that just go with it. I'm not artistic. I cannot read music notes. I don't really have an ear for music. But it's weird because it's like that right side of your brain just doesn't work as strong as the left side of your brain. And it makes you feel stupid. My whole life, I felt like I was stupid. But being diagnosed shined a whole new light on it. I watched a lot of videos about other people who struggle with dyscalculia before I even got tested or even asked to be tested. And it just shined a whole new light on it for me because I realized that I'm not the only one struggling with it. I am so relieved. When I got my results, oddly enough, I laughed. I didn't cry. I laughed, and she kind of looked at me funny, but I explained to her that my whole life I knew something was wrong. So to finally have answers was a huge relief. I didn't know how else to describe it. My results came back that I am under the first percentile of my classmates, which means that if you had a line of 100 people, I wouldn't even be in that line. It's kind of sad, but I've been struggling with it my whole life, and I'm just glad now that I have answers. In the end, I ended up changing my major to psychology. I enjoy the study of the brain. I think this kind of stuff is cool. And I think math held me back a lot. Math wasn't the full reason for me changing my major, but it had a lot to do with it. I wish I could be normal. I always wished I could be normal. And oftentimes, dyscalculia comes with things like anxiety and depression. And I have anxiety, I have depression, I have OCD, I have ADHD and attentive. There's a lot of things that can come along with being dyscalculic. And some of it can stem from that. You become insecure because you can't do what everyone else can do. But you need to realize that you're not alone. Other people struggle from it. It's okay. It's okay if you're older and you're not diagnosed, or if you want to get diagnosed. Sometimes people get diagnosed just for themselves, not even for school or for work, just for themselves. I still get up and I go to work every day, and I live a normal life. I do fantastic when it comes to my English classes and other classes like psychology. That's like my favorite class. I don't do well with math, but I find a way through it, and you can too. There's plenty of resources out there. Reach out to somebody if you think that you have it. There's plenty of help. You could even talk to your counselors, and I'm sure that they could get you to meet with somebody. Honestly, you're not alone, and if you feel that you ever want somebody to talk to, or you have any questions about what it's like to live with dyscalculia, feel free to message me, leave a comment. I will be happy to respond, because if I can change one person's life and make it better by making this video and struggling with dyscalculia my whole life, then it'll have been worth it. Because you know what? I'm me, and there's nothing I can change about it, so I have to learn to accept it. And I hope that if you're a parent watching this, that you request your child to be tested. But you need to say you want them tested for dyscalculia. Otherwise, they're just going to keep testing them for their IQ. And they're just going to say what they said about me. They're just struggling with math. So please, if you're a parent and you think your child has dyscalculia, speak up. My mom wishes she did, but she didn't know. And I'm hoping that this video will get out to more people so that they do know. And if you are someone who can get yourself help like I did, reach out to somebody. Get in contact with somebody who can help you. There's plenty of help out there. Thank you.